Hey guys, it's Michelle here from Nom Nom Paleo, and I'm coming on live just like I do every Wednesday to show you how to cook something. And today we are going to be making a recipe from our first book, the red book, Nom Nom Paleo Food for Humans, the Westlake beef soup. And the reason why we're making it is because Mindy Kaling made it last week, and it was so exciting that we wanted to share it with all of you. Wasn't it exciting? So the whole story is we were walking into lunch last Friday, and then Henry was looking at our Instagram. I was like, hey, looks like Mindy Kaling just tagged you. And I was like, what? That must be a mistake. But it wasn't. She was cooking out of her book, and she showed everyone how to make this Westlake beef soup from our first book. And she did a whole series of stories on how to make it, and she had some questions which I'll answer in this broadcast. And so today, for one of you lucky live viewers, we are going to be giving away a Nom Nom Paleo fun pack, which I will send personally. It'll be a signed copy of our red book, which has this recipe, the Westlake beef soup, our Ready or Not yellow book, the magic mushroom powder, a Minnie Michelle action figure, some Nom Nom Paleo knee highs, which are perfect if you happen to be where it's cold. But all you have to do is say hello or make a comment during the live broadcast, and then Lauren Wade, our master builder behind the scenes, will randomly pick someone and you'll win. And so behind the scenes is my older son Owen, who does the camera and asks the questions that you guys type in that I can't see because I'm cooking. And this here is Ollie, and he's gonna help me, right? So what I have in here, again, we're making Westlake beef soup. What I have in here is 6 cups of chicken broth, and I hear someone sneaking into my house who was supposed to come before 5, but she's coming later. Hi, Bo. That's my friend Bo. So I have 6 cups of broth that I'm bringing to a simmer. I'm gonna throw in a quarter cup of shiitake, or quarter pound of shiitake mushrooms that I've thinly sliced. And I'm going to bring this to a boil. What were you whispering, sweet?
Nothing.
I couldn't hear you. What were you whispering? So this is a super duper simple soup. And it's a soup that I used to, my mom didn't make it very much, but every time we'd go out to eat, and we went to a authentic Chinese restaurant, we would get, sometimes we get Westlake soup, because there was always a soup course whenever we went out to celebrate someone's birthday. Hi, Bo.
Hello.
And if it was fancy, we'd have something like shark fin soup or some other fancy thing. But if it was more of a casual family dinner, the kids would always want to order Westlake soup, because it's this really beefy, hearty soup that has, it normally has egg whites, but I'm going to actually just put whole eggs in here just because I don't want to make anything separate with the egg whites. Bo, did you have Westlake soup growing up?
Yes, actually, it was very yummy.
Alright, so all I'm doing here is I am bringing the shiitake mushrooms and chicken soup, or broth, whatever broth you have. I happen to have some chicken bone broth. Do you know who Mindy Kaling is?
Yes, the actress.
Yes, so she made our soup last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's why we're making it today.
Excellent.
Alright, so we're gonna bring it to a boil. But while we're doing that, okay, so this was one of the questions Mindy Kaling had about those Westlake beef soup. Like in the ingredients it says half a pound of flank steak minced. She's like, what does that even mean? She said she went to her butcher and he said, oh, it's just ground beef. And it's not, no. You actually had to buy flank steak and you had to chop it by hand. But you don't have to do that. That's just how it traditionally is, right? Because when you go get Westlake soup, it's not ground beef. It's just a finely chopped meat.
Correct.
And that kind of adds to the texture. But you can totally cheat and buy ground beef and it'll still taste delicious. Or you can throw it in a food processor and do it. But like this, I had half a pound of flank steak. I stuck it in the freezer for about 30 minutes. And so then it's easier to chop. And so then I just chopped it up by hand. So this has my blood, sweat, and tears in here.
So you're using full eggs in this recipe, right?
Yes.
You're not separating anything. But do you think that this recipe could work without eggs?
Oh yeah, you can just leave it out. I mean, the main flavoring of the soup, I think, is the beef and the cilantro. And so when people say, can I leave out the cilantro? I'm like, you can, but it won't taste, it'll just taste like a beefy soup. But it's the cilantro and the beef that kind of give this soup its yumminess. And people are like, what if you don't like mushrooms? I was like, you can leave out the mushrooms. The shiitake mushrooms just add umami. And if you actually use reconstituted dried shiitake mushrooms, it'll taste even better. Because dried shiitake mushrooms have more umami than fresh shiitake mushrooms. And I actually like the texture better. So what I have here is some hand-minced flank steak. And we're going to add some seasoning to this. So I'm going to have you add it and then we'll stir it together. Okay, Allie? So we're going to add here. Since you're here, Bo, you can read it out. And if we forget something, you have to let us know. Okay. So we're going to do a teaspoon of diamond crystal kosher salt. I'm going to have you mix it together, okay? Or you can pour in the other stuff. Okay. And so if you don't have diamond crystal kosher salt and you have Morton's or a fine grained salt, use half a teaspoon. Because diamond crystal kosher salt actually has like a special structure that makes it less, like use more of it to get the same amount of saltiness as half of other salts. Okay, so then we're going to put two teaspoons of rice vinegar. Just pour it all over. Very good. And you can kind of just drop everything into the sink, or you can leave here and then we have a teaspoon of fish sauce. And people have said, what can you use in place of fish sauce? I have a fish allergy. That's the only time I would say don't use fish sauce, is if you have a fish allergy. Oh, you just dropped fish sauce in our floor. Okay, and if you do have a fish allergy, you could use coconut aminos. It's not quite the same. Or just Google Cooks Illustrated has a vegetarian fish sauce, which you can make. And to make it paleo, you just use coconut aminos in place of soy sauce. But basically, I think you just infuse coconut aminos or soy sauce with some dried shiitake mushrooms, and that's their vegetarian fish sauce. And then this is a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. Yes? Oil?
So, where did you get the dried mushrooms, and could you use?
So there are no dried mushrooms in here.
Oh, sorry.
These are fresh ones, but the dried ones I get at the store. But if I can, I will steal it from my mom because she knows how to buy the best dried mushrooms. And they're all like Chinese people say the best dried shiitake mushrooms are the ones that are really fat and the top of it looks like a little flower. But I can't ever find those, so I just buy what's at the store.
Also, could you use magic mushroom powder instead of mushrooms?
You know, I wouldn't, because magic mushroom powder is dried porcini and it's got like some red pepper flakes and some thyme, which is not very Chinesey. So I wouldn't. I mean, you can if you don't mind, but it won't make it taste super authentic. It'll make it taste delicious, but you know. Okay, so then a quarter teaspoon of ground white pepper. And Mindy Kaling didn't have any ground white pepper, but ground white pepper is like what makes it taste the way it tastes. And if you made my hot and sour soup that I demonstrated, I think 2 weeks ago, you can use it in here. Okay, so Ollie, I'm going to have you mix everything so that all the seasoning is well distributed in my finely hand minced.
So speaking of, how do you hand mince the beef?
So what I do is I freeze the flank steak for about 30 minutes in the freezer, and then I cut it along the grain into like 3 strips, and then I cut into thin slices against the grain, and then I stack up little piles of them and I chop them up, and then when I'm all done with that, I chop everything up, and then that's how I do it. But it is kind of a pain and you need a sharp knife. So if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. You can throw kind of partially frozen chunks of it into a food processor and pulse it until it's chopped up. You can buy ground beef. Here. You have to be a little more aggressive because you want everything to mix really well in here, because this is what's going to season the soup. Obviously you have to taste the soup to adjust, but You can smell. I really like the smell of toasted sesame oil. Okay.
Speaking of, is there a difference between toasted sesame oil and regular sesame oil?
Toasted sesame oil just smells a lot better. And so normally you're supposed to add it at the end. And we're not going to cook this for very long. I'm not going to worry too much about heating up the sesame oil. But normally I recommend adding it at the very end, but it's okay. Alright, so then we're going to add an arrowroot slurry to the soup to thicken it, because traditionally Westlake soup is a pretty thick soup, right, Bo?
Correct.
Okay, so basically we're going to do equal portions of water to arrowroot powder, and this is in place of cornstarch, because if you go to a Chinese restaurant, they will probably use cornstarch or even potato flour to thicken their stuff. And so if you want to keep it Whole30, you can't use cornstarch, and so you would use arrowroot powder. So this is a 1/4 cup to a 1/4 cup of water. And I save the slurry because it doesn't actually like dissolve into a solution. You just have to stir it until it kind of goes in water. Alright.
Is there a substitute for someone who does not enjoy the taste of cilantro?
You just leave it out, but it won't taste the same. It'll still taste good, it just is not Westlake soup. This is like a beefy egg drop soup, which is totally cool, and you can totally make that.
Let's see. Could you use ground turkey?
You could, but it
Okay.
won't. It's like this soup is famous for it's like a beefy soup from the Westlake region of China. So it's a beefy cilantro soup. But yes, you could do ground turkey if you'd like. I have many friends who really like ground turkey, like my friend Maria. And so if she really wanted to, she could use that in place of minced flank steak, but I don't know. I would rather eat this. Okay, so the soup is simmering, and it says to pour in the slurry, right?
Correct.
Right.
Also, what do you do if
So
you
I'm
can
going to
never...
stir this.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do if you can never find magic mushroom powder at a Whole Foods?
You just call their customer service and have them order it, because every single brick and mortar Whole Foods in the United States can order it, and they will happily order it if there's a demand. But we are working hard to try to get it online.
Yes. Also, could you
Okay,
make
so we're
this
going to
in
bring this back
an
up to a
Instant Pot?
simmer. I don't think so. As you guys are seeing here, it's a really quick soup, so there's really no reason to make it in an Instant Pot. It wouldn't be any faster, because with an Instant Pot you still have to wait for it to come up to high pressure, and that could take like 10 minutes. And so this soup, like we started at 5, it's not taking very long. So you can see here it's been thickened. So once it comes back up to a simmer, I'm going to put in the seasoned beef, and then we're going to taste it for seasoning, and then we'll add the cilantro and the green onions, which I'll cut. But while we're waiting, Ollie, I'm going to have you whisk the eggs. So the recipe, and the traditional recipe is just egg whites, but it's just as good with whole eggs. It just, you know, the eggy tendrils will just be a different color. If you do separate it, one of the questions Mindy Kaling had was, what do you do with the yolks? And I actually have, oh, see, and this is what happens. If you have a little errant piece of yolk in here, you can use the shell to scoop it out. And for whatever reason, like the shell can do it, but if you try to use your finger, it's really hard. Alright, so I have 3 eggs. And that is just a little piece of stuff from the... Okay, so this is like bubbling really vigorously. I'm going to have you... Okay, I'll just... Okay, you can go. You can even rest it here if you want. So while this is simmering, I'm going to add the beef that I seasoned with all the seasoning that I told you guys earlier. And because it's cut so small, you don't need that much time to cook it. I think even in my my recipe I say, you know, it could be like 30 seconds and it's done. And Mindy Kaling was like, no, that's too short. I don't want to have anything kill me. And so, yeah, you can cook it longer if you'd like. But with arrowroot powder, you run the risk of the thickening power breaking down the more you heat it up. But that's okay. I mean, all arrowroot does is thicken. It doesn't add any flavor. So when people are like, oh no, my soup isn't thick, it's like, well, you can add more arrowroot slurry, but it doesn't actually add anything in terms of flavor. So it's not that big of a deal.
Could you use
And
cornstarch?
you can see here, it has been like 30 seconds, and all the meat is already cooked. Yes?
Could you use cornstarch or potato starch instead of arrowroot?
Yeah, you totally. I mean, it depends on what your, your dietary guidelines are.
Also, how do you feel about ground venison in the recipe?
That would probably work. I personally don't have a lot of experience with game meat, but I know a lot of my readers have people in their family that hunt and bring home like elk and venison, so I think it would totally work. I bet it would be really tasty. So I'm going to season it to taste. I'm going to add a little bit more salt, and then, good job, Ollie. Yeah, it's nice and wisps. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to turn off the heat. This is still simmering at the top. I'm going to turn off the heat. I'm going to whisk in this egg, and the egg will cook on contact, so don't freak out. Like, it's okay that the heat is not on, but it is still bubbling. So I'm going to turn this off. So I like to pour it from, and I like to stir it while I'm, here, I don't need this fork. I like to stir it while I'm pouring in the egg, just so it kind of makes little tendrils in like a slow, steady stream. Should work. And if for whatever reason your soup is not hot enough and you're like, oh no, I'm worried about the egg, just turn on the heat and you can cook it and everything will be okay. Alright, so it's not quite as pretty as if you just use whisked egg whites, but that's okay, it just adds more nutrition. And so we're gonna, and it doesn't matter anyway, because we're gonna add a bunch of cilantro and green onion, so it'll cover up anything that looks kind of weird, if you think it looks weird. Just like we do with any brown stew. Like whenever I make an Instant Pot stew, I put a lot of green stuff on it because it's not pretty. Alright, so I have here, we're making my Westlake beef soup. It's basically all done. I just have to add the herbs at the end. So I asked for 3 thinly sliced scallions, but I have 4 here because they're small. And this is a protein-packed meal. Like there's egg and beef, but it's not quite an all-in-one meal because there aren't a ton of vegetables in it. So I have some vegetables that I'm roasting in the oven, which I probably have to check on, that I will serve with this. Or you could, have a salad, or you could stir-fry some bok choy. You want to go take a peek at the vegetables? Oh, that's it. No, that's good. I'll turn it off. Yeah.
Should I take it out?
I'll take it out. So are there any other questions while we just...
Not really. Someone said, what do you do with the extra egg yolk if you separated the egg?
Oh, so a lot of custard recipes use egg yolks. Like if you go to my website, my Mexican chocolate pot de creme requires I think 3 egg yolks, so that's the perfect recipe that you can make if you just decide to use the egg whites. And there are a bunch of recipes that just have yolks. Or you can keep them in the fridge, and the next day when you're making like scrambled eggs, you can just throw in a couple extra yolks, and it just has more nutrients. Okay, so I'm gonna throw, I'm gonna throw in the scallions, and then I'm gonna chop up, like this is literally it's a cup of packed cilantro. Because that's just how it is. It is like a cilantro heavy soup. So if you don't like cilantro, don't put it in. And what's funny is that my 23andMe actually says that I am genetically predisposed to not like cilantro because, you know, it should taste like soap to me, but I like it. I didn't like it as a kid, but I like it now. So I don't know if either like my taste buds have dulled or I like the taste of soap. I don't understand. But I really like cilantro. But when I was a kid, we would ask them, I think I would try to insist that we get Westlake soup without the cilantro. But I don't think they ever did that because, you know, no one listens to the kid Chinese banquet. I think we just picked it out, but it's already permeates the soup.
So, what do you serve this with?
So you can serve it with anything. Like you can just have it like Chinese people normally have soup as just one of their many courses. But I just am lazy and I just make this as our meal. So this has a bunch of, you know, meat in here and eggs in here. And the only thing missing is some vegetables. So I roasted a tray of vegetables that we're gonna have with it.
Is the flank steak tough?
Not if you chop it really finely. It shouldn't be super tough, and you cook it so quickly. All right, so we're gonna try this. All right, I think that's basically it. The kids are worried that this is gonna take a long time. I'm like, no, I will show you. See, it took less than 30 minutes to throw this all together. Yes, the chopping can take a little longer, but if you cheat and decide that you just want ground beef, super fast.
All right. That's basically it, right?
That is basically it. Any other questions?
Someone said that they taste soap every once in a while when they eat cilantro, and they asked, could it be the freshness of the cilantro that causes the soapy taste?
No, I think you just might be one of those people where cilantro might taste soapy because that's like genetically that's how you taste things. It's just like how some people can smell asparagus in their pee and some people can't, and some people can roll their R's but some people can't. Like I can roll my R's like oh grrr, but you can't.
Well, you also my tongue is also messed up.
No, it's not. I think just some people have it and some people don't. Okay. So I'm gonna divide this.
Which book is this in, and how long will
The
this
red
last
book.
in the fridge? And does it reheat well?
Okay, so it's in our red book, page 109. It does, you can keep it in the fridge for up to 4 days. It does reheat pretty well, but it tastes best fresh, just because the cilantro and the scallions, when it's fresh, it has like a different kind of brightness. The soup is thicker when you make it fresh, but I've totally had leftovers and it's totally fine. And you know, and if you want to thicken it, you can add more, you know, arrowroot slurry. But that's about it. Here, I'm gonna have you guys try this, and you guys have to be honest on the air. And it's okay, you won't hurt my feelings because Mindy Kaling likes it. So even if you guys don't like it, I don't care. I'm just kidding. Okay. Here, Bob.
Thank you.
Here, Owen. I'm going to give you some more because I want to go to
Can I make without mushrooms?
I don't know. See, Ollie doesn't like mushrooms, but it's in almost everything I make. And so here, it's like it's not made with any junky stuff. It's hard. I have so many mushrooms in here, Ollie. I don't know that you can have it without mushrooms.
Just put in mushrooms, that's fine.
Okay, you just eat the mushrooms. Mushrooms are good for you. How is it?
It's very good.
All right.
I like the pieces of flank steak. It's actually very tender.
Yes, if you hand chop, it is better. I don't know what time my dad is going to be home, but we're just going to eat really early. Okay, so I'm going to have Lauren pick one winner that will win the Nom Nom Paleo prize pack. But you guys should totally make this, especially if you used to have it as a kid and you miss it, or if you've never had it, it is a very tasty soup. And I used to like it as a kid, even though I said I didn't like cilantro, but this was my favorite soup whenever we go out. And so I said it makes 4 servings, but I think we have like 5 servings. Kind of depends on how much you want.
We also added the egg yolks.
Yeah, but I don't think that makes a big difference. I think, like, I just think I undersay how many servings, just because I don't want people to say, you said it was 4 servings, and I fed my family and they were hungry. So I'd rather be a little more generous.
All right, our winner is Angela Lee. So,
Yay, Angela!
Yay!
So, DM, the Nom Nom Paleo page, or Lauren will email you, but let us know who you want me to personalize the books to, and then I will send the package out to you. But that's it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bo, for sneaking in late. Thank you for helping children. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.